Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Game Day Gameplay, the sports segment of Console Space. I'm your host Sean Colangelo, and I'm joined by the man I envy the most in the wintertime, Todd from Florida. How's it going, man?
It's going good, Sean. Just dealing with some stuff around the house. You know the stories there, but other than that, good to go.
Is it getting any colder in Florida?
Oh yeah, I mean the winter temperatures are setting in. It's probably about 40, high 40s, low 50s right now, this point in night. So
What's about what's the coldest it gets in your area?
I've had it get below freezing a few times.
Hmm.
The there's a misconception that it doesn't get that cold in Florida. It does. It just doesn't snow generally that often. Um, but we've had it get down below 40 several times, and a couple times it's got below freezing point. So,
Damn. Well, we are recording this. So our first episode was probably about a week and a half ago, which is a little longer than we'll usually post, but that was because of Thanksgiving. So I hope you had a good Thanksgiving, man. I hope everyone listening did. Um, Currently, it is we're recording this in the middle of Sunday Night Football, which is taking place just a few not too far from my house, down at Heinz Field. Uh, the Steelers actually just tied it up. It's 21 all. So let's go ahead and start with the NFL on that note. What's been going on the last 2 weeks in football?
well, we're starting to get into crunch time. Games are starting to mean a little more. I mean, every week in the NFL means a lot because there's only 16 games. But at this point, we're starting to kind of sort out the teams that probably are and probably aren't going to make the playoffs. Then you've got those bubble teams. So let's talk about some of the action today outside of just the results. During the Broncos Raiders game, in the afternoon game, there was another little brawl, kind of. Um, Akeem Talib and Michael Crabtree, they fought before last year. Actually, they got into a scuffle. They got into another one in this game. Don't know. I'm guessing words were said, but it ended up what happened is they went to just lock, and then Crabtree pushed Talib pretty much across half the field and then into a camera guy. It was pretty funny to watch, but they're both known for kind of being personalities, we'll say, hotheads, aka Talib especially. He's the guy. I think he's the one for the Denver that ended up missing some time because he shot himself in the leg, pulled a Plaxico not too long ago.
Ah,
So
pulled the plex.
pulled the Plax, but yeah, they both got ejected from the game, so it'll be interesting to see if the league does anything, especially since this exact same thing has happened before. But the league's not very consistent in whether or not they hand out suspensions for fighting and stuff like that. So I'd say they probably get fined at least, but I don't know if they get suspended out of that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the actual games that happened today and the results of them. I know one of the big ones we want to mention that has playoff implications. The Bills beat the Chiefs, and I believe that game was at Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken. So the Chiefs started out hot. I believe they went 5-0 or 6-0. They were one of the few teams just that were last. They were the last team undefeated. I know. They are now 6-5. So
Well,
they
not
have
even just
struggled mightily since that.
um, not even just this week, but last week didn't they lose to like the Giants, right?
They lost to the Giants last week,
Yeah,
yes, after their
that's
bye week, which Andy Reid never loses coming out of the bye week.
that's not pretty for Kansas City.
No, their offense has really died down a lot. They only put up 9 against the Giants last week. They only managed 10 against the Bills this week.
Wow.
Um, their rookie running back, Kareem Hunt, the guy that he was tearing up at the beginning of the year, he's kind of fallen back to earth a little bit with the results he's putting up. So, um, that's kind of explains why they're starting to struggle a little bit more, in my opinion. Um, run through some of the other games that have playoff potentials. The Eagles kept going. They're 10-1 now. They spanked the Bears 31-3. That wasn't even close. It was pretty much an onslaught. The Patriots are 9-2 now. They're keeping their win streak going. They beat the Dolphins 35-17. Um, The Panthers are keeping things interesting in the NFC South race. They won today, 35 to 27 of the Jets, whereas the Saints lost 26 to 20 to the Rams. So that means both those teams are 8-3 now. I believe the Saints have a tiebreaker over Carolina at this point in time. They're still listed as first on the standings, but definitely going to make things interesting in the last couple weeks down the stretch there with those two teams jockeying for first in that division. The Jaguars hurt themselves today. Tennessee beat the Colts 20 to 16 in a game they should have all honestly won, probably better than that. Colts are not a great team this year. And the Jaguars had a chance to take the lead in the division, but ended up losing to the Cardinals, another team that they should not have lost to at this point in time. So let's take a look at the standings where they sit right now. Like I said, New England's first in their division, 9-2. The Steelers are winning their division at 8-2. It'll be interesting to see if they win this game. But either way, the next closest team to them is the Ravens at 5-5. I don't think they're in that much of a danger of giving up their spot in the AFC North.
Yeah.
The AFC West is a who knows. The Chiefs are currently winning it at 6-5, but you also have the Chargers and the Raiders at 5-6. So the Broncos are 3-8. They're probably done. They have no
3-8.
quarterback to play. 3-8.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's what happens when you've got Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, and Brock Osweiler as your three options at quarterback. So
Yeah.
not a good year for the Broncos. The AFC South is also pretty hotly contested. You got the Titans at 7-4 and the Jaguars at 7-4 right now. Both playing pretty good ball. Mariota's playing well. The Titans in total are playing well. The Jaguars are also playing well. Fournette's having a great year. Their defense is insanely good. Although Jalen Ramsey is hurt right now. I think he played today, though. He played through the injury, so good to see he's not going to miss long term. Yeah, that's going to be one you want to watch down the end of the stretch. Who ends up jockeying for position there in that one. The Texans are 4-6 behind them. They're probably done at that point. They're not going to catch 3 games with only 6 games left. So, looking over at the NFC, we've got the Eagles 10-1. I think they're a lock to make the playoffs. I don't think they can actually miss at this point. The Cowboys behind them are 5-6, and so are the Redskins. So even if the Eagles lose out, they'll still at best be tied with the Cowboys and Redskins, and they have a tiebreaker over all of them. So the Vikings are 9-2 ahead of their division. They're probably going to make it. They're not really in that much of a struggle right now. The Lions are 6-5. They could sneak into a wild card spot there behind them. I already talked about the NFC South. You got the Saints at 8-3, the Panthers at 8-3, and the Falcons at 7-4. So that's definitely going to be one of the ones that probably comes down to a last week matchup. To be honest with you,
That'll be interesting.
I can't see at least one wild card not coming out of that division. I mean, you'd figure at least one of those teams is going to win 10 games. So. And then over in the NFC West, you got the Rams currently winning that 8-3. They just beat the Saints today in a pretty great win, to be honest with you, for them. And then you got the Seahawks at 7-4. So that one's also going to come down to a little bit of a race there at the end. So the NFC is definitely more hotly contested. The AFC is pretty much sorted out, except for the AFC West at this point. Other than that, that's what's going on in the NFL. Just trying to sort out what's going on in the playoff hunts at this point in time.
All right. Well, on that note, let's go ahead and move on to my high school sport, basketball. What is up in the NBA?
Let's talk about the NBA here. It's kind of a slow news week, pretty much all around. I mean, you got the playoffs in football, and trying to figure out who's making there. But this is the point in the year. I think football, they're not making any trades this late in the season, and then it's kind of early in the NHL and NBA season, so not a lot of people are making moves there. So not a lot to talk about other than the games being played. However, Tony Parker for San Antonio is about to make his season debut on Monday. Tomorrow. He's been out since last May in the playoffs. He ruptured his left quadriceps tendon.
Dude, how old is that guy?
Game. Tony Parker? I think he's almost 40, if he's not 40. He's been in the league forever.
He's got to be getting up there.
Yeah. Uh, San Antonio is playing pretty good ball right now. They are the third in their conference, so they'll welcome him back because he is still a good ball player. But um, it's good to see him back from that. He's been out for quite a while. It was definitely a tough injury for him and a tough injury for the team because he is, even if he's not on the court, he's still a heart and soul kind of guy for him. So
Yeah.
um, John Wall for the Wizards is going to be held out 2 weeks. He has knee inflammation and discomfort. It's more of a precautionary thing. It's early in the season. They don't want him hurting his knee worse than it is, and he is their star guy. But yeah, he's going to be out for 2 weeks. Going to miss a couple games. Going to be a rough time going for them without John Wall there because they have a decent team, but any team without their starting point guard is going to struggle. Um, Speaking of struggling point guards, Derrick Rose has taken time away from Cleveland. He is not on the starting roster. He's not on the bench roster. He is potentially considering retiring at this point in his career. He's young to retire, but he's had so many injuries. The devastating knee injuries he's had, well documented. He's a shell of his former self in terms of how he can play because of them. And it'll be interesting to see what he decides. But Cleveland really can't find a spot for him, and if Cleveland can't find a spot for you when they're struggling with some depth, it's not looking good. So
That's unfortunate. Yeah, he's just been hurt so many times, you know.
yeah, it's a shame to see it. He was one of those guys that could have had a Hall of Fame career. You know what I mean? He won the MVP at some one point. He was playing great, but just your knees can only take so much, and you can still play basketball. It's a very knee intensive sport,
Yeah.
and if your body gives out, there's only so much you can do. Looking at the standings there, it's still early, but we can take a look at them. Over at the top of the East, you got Boston at 8-3. They're playing insanely good basketball. They went on a 16-game win streak there until that got broken by the Heat the other night. Uh,
Damn.
Great ball from them. Kyrie's playing really good. Jaylen Brown, rookie. Jason Tatum's also a rookie. Both of them are putting up quality minutes. Horford looks great. That's all missing Gordon Hayward too, who could potentially come back for the playoffs. It's kind of iffy, but he could. So Detroit Pistons are 12-6 behind them, and then Cleveland is 12-7. So Cleveland had a rough start. I think they started off 5-6, but they kind of picked it up, and they've won six straight, I believe now. They're starting to kind of come together, which we knew they would. A team with LeBron on it's not going to miss the playoffs. It's just kind of given in
Yeah.
that league. Looking over the Western Conference, you got Houston leading that at 15-4. That's mostly thanks to James Harden. He's averaging 31.4 points per game and 9.8 assists per game. So he's just under averaging a double-double, which is pretty insane. Then you've got Golden State at 15-5 and San Antonio at 12-7. So I think it's a little surprising that Detroit's up there in this top. Again, it's early, but other than that, those are teams you probably expect to be at the top of the NBA. They were last year. They're probably going to be for a while. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Wouldn't be honestly wouldn't even be surprised to see a repeat of the same final again between the Cavs and
We'll
Warriors.
see. We'll see. I think Cleveland's going to have a lot harder time getting through the East this year than general, especially through Boston without having Kyrie there. And Boston having Kyrie and playing really great ball, this could be the year that Boston finally unseats Cleveland in the East. The West, Houston and San Antonio both look pretty good. They could challenge the Spurs or the not the Spurs, sorry, the Warriors. You never know. Warriors still have Durant. I think Durant's been out and missing some time, so that might be why they're not dominating the way they are usually. But they're a tough team to beat come playoff time. But there are some teams out there with the talent to do it this year, so it could end up being the same. I really think Boston might have a chance to make the final this year, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that'd be a welcome change. Although I don't know, I just wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors, somehow, end up winning it again. But
Yeah, it's hard to bet against having Clay, Steph, and Kevin Durant when it
yeah,
comes playoff time. That's a tough big three to compete with, but it just all comes down to some of it's a roll of the dice, some of it's a little bit of luck, and just depends on if they play 100% all the way through the playoffs. You never know; some team might sneak up on them. Oklahoma City almost did it last year, took them to 7 in the conference final, so
right,
that's
right.
doable.
All right, well, last but certainly not least, the The world of hockey. What's up in the NHL?
Oh yeah. I got a little bit of news for the NHL. First off, talk about today. The Rangers ended up defeating the Canucks for their eighth straight home win. The Rangers have really turned it around, man. They had a rough start to the season. Really rough start to the season, to be honest with you. But they've worked their way back up, and they are now actually in a playoff spot, sitting at 28 points. They have been on a tear from their rough start. I believe they started off 1-6-2, and they're now 13-9-2. If that tells you anything. So
Wow. Yeah.
they've definitely picked it up, kind of found pace. Lundqvist is playing better, and their team's just finding some scoring more. It kind of happens in hockey. You have teams that go through slumps, up and down. It's a long season, so some teams start off in a slump and then find their way out of it. Um, Looking at other news, Gabriel Landeskog is having a hearing with player safety for cross-checking none other than Matthew Tkachuk.
Hmm.
um, he seems to find his way in controversial situations, Matthew
Yeah.
Tkachuk. I will say that.
Yeah.
Um,
He's still like pretty much a rookie, isn't he?
I think he's only 19. He might be 20 now.
Yeah.
He's only in his second season.
Yeah. He stirs the pot a lot.
He does. He does. His dad was known for it too, back when he played.
Hmm.
So it's not anything too unusual, but he's not only can he stir the part, he's a pretty good player. I mean, I think he dropped 50 points in his rookie year or something around there. So the kid's no scrub when it comes to it, but he's definitely a pest. He's a known pest. I didn't see this situation, to be honest with you. I haven't had a chance to watch the highlights from this game yet, so I don't know if he actually did something to provoke Landeskog, or if it's just one of those situations where Landeskog caught him up high when he didn't mean to, something like that. Landeskog's been known to play on the edge a little bit, but I've never considered him really a dirty player. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? He doesn't shy away from contact, but I've never seen him take hits that are intentionally dirty. So um, I can't say anything, but it could have been. Knowing Kachuk history, I wouldn't be surprised if he goaded him into it. To be honest with you.
Well, speaking of hearings, were you going to talk about Radko Gudas? Do you see that?
Yes, he got suspended 10 games
That was brutal.
for slashing on Matthew Perot. I will say this: I watched that replay a lot. I did, and you know I'm no fan of Philly, and I'm no fan of Gudas either one. However, in my opinion, I don't believe that he did that on purpose and that he was aiming for Perot's neck or head. It looked to me like Perot caught him up high, and he was just battling for position, and he went to slam his stick back down on the ice to get ice position there with his stick, and Perot happened to be under him, and he didn't know he was there. Um, Either way, you're responsible for your stick. It doesn't matter if you do it on purpose or not. But I just trying to play devil's advocate there. I didn't see anything from that indicated to me that he was aiming for his head or neck region when he did it. Um,
Yeah.
I think he knew
Yeah.
Perot was there. I think he might have been going for a shot in the legs or something. But you know, either way,
Yeah.
like I said, you got to be responsible for your stick.
I actually kind of felt the same way. It's really tough to tell from I was super torn. Obviously, like, not being a fan of the Flyers, I want to just be like, yeah, screw that guy. Like, but it really is hard to tell, um, how not or how much it was like somewhat intentional. But
Yeah, it really is. You're not wrong about that. Unfortunately for Gudis, he has the history.
yeah,
He's been suspended before more than once. And it was such a dangerous play. I mean, you could have been looking at cracked vertebrae out of something like that. Hockey sticks are no joke. They're solid. You know that. You play it.
mm,
They're solid. They don't give. So
yeah,
it
they
was
don't
such a
feel good.
dangerous incident, and he's got the history. So I wasn't surprised to see him get the book thrown at him. But
Yeah,
just trying to play devil's advocate there. It's a different league than it was back in the days of the Donald Brashear, Todd Bertuzzi incidents. I just don't see that many players intentionally trying to hurt a player that egregiously. You know what I mean?
right.
Um, at this point in day, I think there's a lot more respect around the league than there used to be. I think most players respect other players on the team, even if there's a rivalry there. Might be a begrudging respect, but it's there. And I just don't see those kind of shots taken very often these days. Most of the ones that do result in an injury or look bad, I think, are often a player unintentionally doing something. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree for the most part. So what else is going on?
A little bit more. We got up in Montreal. Carey Price came back from his injury.
Wait a minute.
He
Wait a
got
minute.
back in the
Carey Price was hurt? What do you mean?
right. It seems to happen pretty often, but this one was a shorter. I think he only missed like 5 or 6 games.
No, that's not
They
too
were
bad.
relying pretty heavily on Charlie Lindgren when he was gone, but he came back and got a shutout in his return. So he
Well,
was struggling at the beginning of the year. To be fair, the entire team was. I don't know if it's all on him, but it looks like, at least in this, if we're judging on this one game, he's back in form. Throwing this out there, it was against Buffalo, another team that is struggling mightily. But they have some offensive talent on that team. Evander Kane, Jack Eichel. So um, it's good to see Price back. It's good to see him healthy. He's one of the better goaltenders in the league, and it's good to see him kind of getting his form back. Going down to Washington there, Ovi had a pretty special hat trick last night. I don't know if you knew this. Last night was hockey's fights cancer night for a lot of teams. We're doing that hosting. Um, the Capitals did that, and they had a cancer survivor, a little kid named Alex Louis, that was there with him. Spent the day with Ovechkin. Was a big OE fan, that kid was, and Ovechkin kind of told him, hey, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna play this game for you, and then he ends up netting hat trick. So,
that's
um,
awesome.
yeah, you and I, we're not a fan of Ovi on the ice, but I will say this: Ovi is a great person off the ice. Most hockey players are. He does a lot for his community. He does a lot of stuff like this, and it's just a great thing to see.
Yeah, the thing
And
about
those kind of
Ovi
stories like that.
is he's matured a lot. Like when he was younger, I used to think he was kind of a d-bag.
Uh huh.
Um, but even in spite of the fact that obviously I don't like the Capitals, I have a lot of respect for Ovi. I think he has grown up a lot.
Yeah, that's very true. You can say that about pretty much any player. I mean,
Yeah, it's true.
you and I are huge Crosby fans, but when Crosby joined the league, I will admit that he had a tendency for whining a bit more than he probably
Oh,
should have to
absolutely.
the refs. So,
Yeah.
and Malkin was a bit of a hothead in his younger days too. He still can be from
Yeah,
time to
I
time.
was gonna
So,
say he still kind of is, but
but last bit of news here, keeping the player safety stuff we've been talking about. Ben Sherratt got fined for butt-ending Perry in a game against Anaheim. I also did not see this one. He just got fined, so it didn't seem like it was that big a deal. I know Perry didn't get hurt from it, but butt ending can be pretty dangerous.
wait.
There's two.
This happened to Corey Perry.
Yeah, happened to Corey Perry.
Oh,
Ben
well,
Sherratt's getting fined for it.
that's just karma. Sorry, but
Yeah, I mean, Perry's a guy that's been known to cross the line too. You're not
yeah,
wrong about
he
that.
does that shit all the time. So
Yep. Yes, he does. Last little bit we'll do here, we'll talk about the standings. Tampa Bay is still obviously playing great hockey. They did just lose two straight to Washington and the Penguins in their last two games. Um, but they are still 16-5-2, and they're still on pace for I think like 125 points or something like that. So they're fine. They'll pull back together. They're leading the Atlantic, and Toronto is sitting behind them at 31 points, 15-9-1. And then Detroit has actually snuck back up into third place in the Atlantic, 10-9-5. That is because Ottawa has lost 6 straight games. Ottawa is struggling to find their footing right now. They already were kind of at the beginning of the year, but they were getting carried by a lot of OTL points. They had like 6 overtime losses in their first like 10 games or something like that. So but they're really falling off, and they kind of need to get it turned around. I don't think the Duchesne trades really worked out the way they thought it was going to, because I think he only has 1 goal and 2 points since coming over in like 7 or 8 games. So
mm,
they're definitely hoping he gets it turned around because they are missing what Kyle Turris is bringing right now. Uh, Slop over to the Metro. The Devils are still leading division with 32 points, 14-5-4. They're one of the big stories. I mean, most people had them predicted to finish last in that division, and they've definitely turned their team around on a dime. Columbus is sitting at second, 15-7-1, 31 points, and then the Islanders have actually fought their way up into third, 14-7-2 with 30 points. The Islanders are a team that I thought weren't going to do anything this year, to be honest with you. They had the stadium dispute. They don't know where they're going to play in the next couple of years. And then
yeah,
on top of that, you got the whole distraction of Tavares not being signed yet. Um, that can really affect the guy two ways. He can either play out of his mind and make sure he gets the biggest contract possible, or he can be distracted by that stuff going on off the ice and end up struggling on the ice because of it. Tavares has definitely been in the first one. He has been playing unreal hockey right now, as well as Everly playing really well from them coming over in that trade. So they're proving me wrong. I said they weren't going to make the playoffs, and they're looking like they are a playoff team right now.
I wonder if Tavares will stay or leave the Islanders.
I think a lot of that has to do with what happens with the arena deal. I mean, I don't think any big name free agent like that wants to be in a place that's that unstable when it comes to the ownership.
Yeah.
Um, if you don't even know where you're going to be playing hockey, it's kind of hard to make a pitch to keep a guy like that. It'll be interesting to see. He would definitely be a huge name to be out there if they don't re-sign him. Probably the biggest free agent to hit the market since I couldn't even tell you, man, when the last time. I mean, there was the whole Stamkos deal not too long ago, but he didn't make it very far. Tampa Bay signed him up pretty quick, so
Yeah.
um, I can't remember when there was a name of that gravity out there on the free agent market. So
Yeah, it's probably been a while.
mhm. Jump over to the West in the Central. St. Louis is still up there. They actually have the best record in hockey right now, 35 points, 17, 6, and 1. But they have
Jeez.
one more game played than Tampa, so
Yeah.
they're playing great hockey there too. Winnipeg is second in that division, 14, 6, and 3, 31 points. And Nashville has moved up to third with 14, 6, and 3 as well, 31 points. And then over in the Pacific, the big story, the Cinderella story, Vegas, is first place in the Pacific at the quarter mark of the season. Don't know if anyone would have predicted that. Um,
Not just
15,
that.
6, and 1, 31 points.
On top of that, didn't our old friend Marc-Andre Fleury just return to the lineup?
No, it was Malcolm Subban that returned.
Oh, I thought
Fleury
Fleury
is
is back.
still. He might be coming back. He hasn't played a game yet. That I know.
Okay.
Subban played their last game. Um,
Gotcha.
but I mean, they'll welcome any goalie back. They were what, on their fifth string goalie at one point.
Yeah,
I
that was
mean,
brutal.
yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a run like that. And I gotta give them credit. They survived it. You know what I mean? To be down on your fifth goalie and still be first in your division, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah,
I think a
that's
lot of that
impressive.
has to do with the locker room, the nature of it. It's kind of like a next guy up,
Hmm.
Um, they're I think they're a team that's reveling in being misfits at this point in time. You
Oh,
have a
yeah.
lot of guys playing career years right now,
Right. Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
I think some of that's stemming from anger of showing their former team, hey, you shouldn't have let me go.
Exactly.
Yeah. But behind them in the division, the Kings are still playing good hockey. They're 29 points. The Flames are third in that division with 27 points. So, a few surprises, a few teams we thought would be up there, but it's still early. There's still, 3/4 of the season left. We all know that stuff can turn around pretty quick. So, it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here.
Indeed, it will, my friend. All right, well, I guess let's wrap things up then.
Yep.
If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, comment, thumbs up, all that jazz. If you didn't, same deal. Tell us why. We appreciate all feedback. Also, be sure to check out our other videos. Once a week, we get together and we do a podcast about video games. So, on that note, Todd, thank you for all the information in the news, and we will do it again in a week, my friend.
Sounds good. I'll be here. I'll see you next week, Sean.
All right, sounds good, man. See ya.
Yep. Have a good one.